Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you like to hear someone talk about cats, rats, dogs, and reptiles, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons down below because it's kind of what I'm here for. So today I'm finally going to be doing something I've been talking about wanting to do for forever, and that is just kind of making Gordon, my blue-tongued Skink'S enclosure, so much better than what it is right now. Before we moved, long story short again, but before we moved, his enclosure got infested with ants. We took it apart, completely cleaned it out. It was so close to us moving that we decided to set it up more like a hospital tank instead of like a real tank like it was before. Before this happened, he had the most beautiful enclosure ever. I was so proud of it. But with the ant infestation and everything, they were little pharaoh ants. They get into everything and they're almost impossible to get rid of. We did successfully get rid of them. However, we threw away a lot of his stuff. So we were moving in a few months. We were like, let's just leave it as it is. When we move, we'll up our game again. We've been moved for several months now and we've done a ton of stuff in this room, but we have yet to kind of add enrichment and things like that to his enclosure. So that's what we're doing today. Behind me, you can see his enclosure the way it is currently. I did take out his water dish already and his food bowl, but he's got a few bricks for basking and helping to file down his nails. He's got a PVC pipe in there and he's got some greenery and a really cool little piece of wood that I'm hoping I can still fit in here because I've got a massive piece of wood that I've got to put in there still too. But other than that, he's got substrate that he burrows in and that's about it. A couple things to note, his humidifier did break on us unfortunately. So we're looking into another alternative to that as opposed to buying that same one again. We do have that same one for the iguana enclosure and it's still going strong, but his kind of just started leaking. And we can't really risk that because of how we've got this enclosure set up. So we're kind of debating on how we're going to do that still. However, I have been heavily spraying it down super often. Plus I do live in a higher humid area, so it hasn't been too bad. Like I'm still able to maintain the humidity. Anyways, so here's what it is before. I am going to take all of this out of there and scoop out the substrate. I've got a trash can sitting right here next to it. And I literally have a dustpan that I bought solely for the purpose of scooping out substrate. We don't use it for anything else except for that. So all I'm gonna do is take everything out of here and scoop it around into the trash can. Might still use some of the current items, might not. Like I said, I do have a really large piece of wood I'm gonna put in there. You guys have seen the Michaels haul, and I do have one piece that I saved from a Hobby Lobby haul for the iguana enclosure. And it's this fern right here that I absolutely loved. And it was the only piece out of that that haul video that we did not use on the iguana enclosure. I took it out and saved it for Gordon because I definitely could have found a spot to put it in there, but I decided not to. So I'm gonna go ahead and do those steps and then I'll show you some more stuff. Oh my gosh, if I can pause it. And up next, as you can see, it is empty of all the substrate I could scoop out. So I'm gonna take the hose part of my vacuum cleaner and just go ahead and suck the rest of that out. Okay, so it's been completely vacuumed out. I wiped everything down with white water. I always say that, with white vinegar and water combination, this little spray bottle. Wiped everything out with that. Went ahead and cleaned the doors and the little substrate barrier because it makes sense to while it's empty. And next I'm going to try and fit this humongous piece of wood that I've got in here without having to take off the substrate barrier. It's kind of like adhered on here pretty good. I don't really want to take that off and then have to figure out how to put it back in here. So let me go show you this awesome piece of wood that I got. Okay, so this is the piece of wood. It's huge, it's massive, it's awesome. It's a little damp because I put it in my bathtub and poured boiling hot water on it. I couldn't get it to fit in my oven or anything. So that was the easiest way I could think of sanitizing it the best I could. I got this from an exotic pet store that's actually really near to my house that I love and I go to all the time. So I'm hoping this is sanitized well enough. Tux, leave it. I'm hoping that this is sanitized well enough and I'm hoping that this can fit in here. So any of your heavy items like this, especially with burrowing species like blue-tongued skinks, you're going to want to, oh, I think it's gonna fit. You're gonna want to put those in first before adding your substrate. Especially the heavy items that could possibly have a potential fall, excuse me, fall risk on them. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now is I'm going to go ahead and add the brick that I have in there and add this harder piece, figure out how I'm going to get it in there, and then go from there. Okay, so as you can see, I kept it super basic, put it over there so that the brick can kind of help support it a little bit. Had to make sure that the light wasn't going to get blocked from that piece. Next, I'm going to put in my substrate. I've been sanitizing substrate all day long, which I absolutely hate doing. To me, it's like the lamest part of reptile keeping is baking your substrate. I hate it. But it's also one of the most important parts. So that is definitely happening. Or that definitely did happen and is a step that I never skip. So I've got this Sterilite bin right here full of a combination of cypress mulch and cocoa fiber, cocoa bark, whatever it's called. And I'm gonna add some sphagnum moss to it as well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add that. It is a blue-tongued skink who likes to burrow, so I'm going to make sure that it is a very thick layer of substrate, especially on the one side. And then as I go, I'm going to be heavily misting it, so it's got a very thorough soak to it. Okay, so I've added all of the substrate and everything. It definitely looks a little low in the front, but I promise you that it goes way up in the back for probably about a foot width. It's gonna go up about to the top of the substrate barrier. So I believe, I'm not even gonna guess because I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's definitely deep enough back there, and it's like that all the way back. And then I did kind of bring it down a little bit in the front. A, I didn't have as much substrate as I thought I did, and B, it's just easier for me to feed him and stuff up here, so I feel like he's less likely to accidentally eat any of that stuff, even though he has a bowl and he doesn't really get into it like that. But next I'm going to add some of the fun pieces I got from a craft store. Okay, so it's finally at the point where I'm about to pop the doors back on and add Gordon to the enclosure. So once I get him in there, I'm gonna zoom in and show you guys. I'm so in love with this. It's so much better than what he had for a while. I do still kind of want to go and get another wood element of some sort. There's a reptile show next weekend that I'm trying to avoid not wanting to go to, and I keep on coming up with reasons to want to go. But yeah, let me go grab him, and then we'll pop him in there and watch him explore. I am so excited to get Gordon, my classic Indonesian blue-tongued skink, right back on in there. As you can see, he's a little huffy puffy and he's got really sharp claws, so I always use a towel to hold him. And yeah, let's get him in there. Okay, so here's what I did. I added quite a bit of greenery in here. It's gonna look amazing, or it looks amazing in my opinion. I did end up keeping what I call his jungle gem and putting this long viney piece back here behind it and over it. I've got a little fern looking plant. I've got some color in here. The pothos, I ended up cutting this huge bundle I had up in here. And then yeah, Gordon's already around and exploring. Super, super testy boy. There's a fern tucked in there. There's just so much more. Like, this makes me so much happier for him than what he was in. And it looks a lot better in my opinion too. He is so mad at me. You gonna explore or sulk? He actually looks like he's about to shed again. I'm telling you, this boy sheds all the time, like constantly is shedding. But yeah, that is it. Ooh, he scared me. Yeah, you didn't like that, huh? I'll put the camera back on you, bro. I can't believe you scared me like that. That was funny. But this is what it looks like. I need to get him another humidifier, but it's definitely looking good. Anyways, leave in the comments down below if you have any suggestions for a humidifier that you know works really well, that doesn't need to be replaced constantly, and you guys have a good one.